They changed my job, so I changed everything. It started with the email. Subject: Apex Logistics Reorganization Announcement. I knew it was trouble. These things always were. My name's Elias Thorne. I was a junior systems administrator at Apex. Now I'm something else entirely. Something more reactive. Apex, a company that moved boxes from point A to point B with surprising inefficiency, had decided it needed a vision. A synergy. A whole lot of other words that tasted like sawdust in my mouth. Enter Chadwick Sterling, MBA extraordinaire. Guy whose LinkedIn profile probably listed disruptor as a core skill. Chad, as he insisted everyone call him after about 5 minutes of meeting him, arrived with a plan to optimize everything. That meant automation. That meant layoffs. That meant my already vaguely defined job description was about to become a Jackson Pollock painting of random tasks and meaningless metrics. The initial meeting was a masterclass in corporate doublespeak. Chad, radiating the confidence only a complete lack of understanding can provide, laid out his grand strategy. Something about AI-powered logistics, blockchain tracking, and a paperless office which, considering the sheer volume of labels we used, was laughably absurd. Elias, he boomed, slapping me a little too enthusiastically on the back. You're going to be instrumental in this transition. Think of it, you'll be, optimizing the optimization. I blinked. I think I actually said, optimizing the... What? The first casualty was my team. Gone, downsized, streamlined. Whatever euphemism HR decided to use. I went from managing a small team of techs to being a one-man band, responsible for everything from the network infrastructure to the coffee machine that kept crashing because Brenda from shipping kept putting sugar in the water reservoir. Brenda. God bless Brenda. She'd been with Apex since before computers were invented. She knew where every box was, who packed it, and what the driver had for lunch that day. She was the human embodiment of institutional knowledge, and Chad was about to render her obsolete. The new system was a disaster, a cobbled-together mess of incompatible software, rushed implementations, and employees who were barely computer literate being forced to use tablets that crashed every 5 minutes. Shipments were misrouted, orders were lost, and the warehouse floor looked like a scene from a post-apocalyptic movie, only instead of mutants, it was stressed-out forklift drivers yelling at malfunctioning scanners. I spent my days putting out fires, fixing glitches, writing workarounds, explaining to Chad why the cloud wasn't just a fluffy thing in the sky that magically made everything better. And Chad took credit. Every single time. Great job, Elias, he'd say, beaming in front of Mr. Abernathy, the CEO who knew even less about technology than Chad did. I knew you could make it happen, just needed a little sterling touch. My girlfriend, Sarah, a nurse who dealt with actual life and death situations, listened patiently to my rants every night. You need to stand up for yourself, Elias, she'd say, gently rubbing my shoulders. You're letting him walk all over you. I knew she was right. But confrontation wasn't my strong suit. I was a fixer, a problem solver, not a rabble-rouser. So I bottled it up, until I couldn't. The first crack in my carefully constructed facade of compliance came in the form of a slightly delayed shipping report. Just a few hours late, enough to throw Chad's perfectly crafted presentation to Mr. Abernathy off by a hair. He barely noticed. But I did, and it felt good. The next day, a crucial shipment of high-value electronics was accidentally routed to the wrong warehouse. Not entirely my fault, of course. The new system was prone to glitches, but I may have subtly adjusted the algorithm that prioritized shipping routes. Just a tiny tweak. Chad, predictably, blamed everyone but himself. He stormed through the office, berating employees and threatening disciplinary action. Brenda, bless her heart, stood her ground. Maybe, she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm, if we hadn't replaced a perfectly good system with this thing, we wouldn't be in this mess. Chad glared at her. Brenda, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but we're moving forward. You need to get on board, or he trailed off, the threat hanging in the air. That was it. That was the moment I crossed the line. I found Kevin, the new IT guy, fresh out of college, bright-eyed and utterly clueless about the corporate world. He was intimidated by me, probably because I hadn't smiled in weeks. Kevin, I said, pulling him aside, I need your help. He looked terrified. With what, Mr. Thorne? I lowered my voice. I need you to learn everything about this new system. Every line of code, every database table, every hidden vulnerability. He blinked. Why? Because I said, a grim smile spreading across my face. We're going to start optimizing. Kevin, surprisingly, was in. He was young, idealistic, and quickly realized that Chad's optimization was just a fancy word for chaos. He was also incredibly eager to learn. We started small. We subtly tweaked the system to prioritize Brenda's shipments. We rerouted damaged goods to Chad's office instead of the designated returns area. We made sure his presentations always had a typo or two. It was petty, it was childish, but it was working. Chad was starting to look flustered. Mr. Abernathy was starting to raise an eyebrow. Then Chad announced his master plan. Project Nightingale, the complete automation of the shipping department, Brenda's department. This, Chad declared, his voice booming through the office, will revolutionize Apex logistics, will be leaner, faster, more efficient, and he paused. A smug grin on his face, more profitable. He might as well have just announced Brenda's execution. Brenda was devastated. I saw her in the break room, staring blankly at a cup of lukewarm coffee. "They're going to replace us all, Elias," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "All those years, all that experience for nothing. That was it. No more petty pranks. It was time to go nuclear." Kevin and I spent weeks poring over the system. We found vulnerabilities Chad hadn't even dreamed of. Backdoors, loopholes, and hidden administrative accounts. The man was a security nightmare. Then we found something truly damning. Chad had been falsifying data, manipulating the numbers to make Project Nightingale look more successful than it actually was. He'd been inflating efficiency metrics, hiding shipment errors, and outright lying about cost savings. I had the evidence, the smoking gun, but how to use it. I couldn't just walk into Mr. Abernathy's office and present him with a stack of printouts. Chad would deny it. Mr. Abernathy would believe him. I needed something dramatic. Then I remembered something Bob, the owner of the coffee shop I went to every morning, had said to me. He was an older guy, always had a twinkle in his eye. I had been venting to him one day about Chad. "Sometimes, Elias," Bob had said, stirring his coffee, "the best way to show someone the truth is to let them see it for themselves. Unfiltered, unadulterated, unfiltered, unadulterated." The company meeting was scheduled for Friday. Chad was going to present the final results of Project Nightingale to Mr. Abernathy and the board. That morning, Kevin and I uploaded a little modification to the presentation software. A small program that would automatically pull data from the system and display it in real time. Unfiltered, unadulterated. Chad started his presentation with his usual bravado. Charts and graphs filled the screen, all pointing to the incredible success of Project Nightingale. Then the data started to shift, slowly at first, then faster. The numbers plummeted, efficiency metrics crashed, shipment errors skyrocketed, cost savings evaporated. The look on Chad's face was priceless. He stammered, he stuttered, he tried to regain control. But the system was relentless. It showed the truth, the ugly, inconvenient truth. What's happening?" Mr. Abernathy demanded, his face turning red. Chad frantically clicked through slides, trying to hide the damning data, but it was no use. The program was designed to override everything. Finally, he just stopped. He stood there, frozen, sweat dripping down his face. "Elias," Mr. Abernathy said, his voice dangerously low. "Do you have any idea what's going on?" I stood up. "Yes, sir, I do." I walked to the front of the room and took the remote from Chad's trembling hand. "What you're seeing, Mr. Abernathy," I said calmly, "is the real data. The data Chad didn't want you to see." I proceeded to explain everything. The falsified data, the manipulated metrics, the disastrous impact on the shipping department. I had all the evidence laid out, ready to present. Chad tried to interrupt, to deny everything. But I was prepared. I played back recordings of his phone calls, showed screenshots of his emails. The evidence was overwhelming. The room was silent, you could hear a pin drop. Finally, Mr. Abernathy spoke. "Chad," he said, his voice cold and hard, "you're done." Chad's face crumpled. He looked like a deflated balloon. He tried to plead, to beg for forgiveness, but it was no use. He was escorted out of the building by security. The aftermath was messy. An investigation was launched. Heads rolled. Apex Logistics suffered a major PR crisis, but Brenda's department was saved. At least for now. The automation project was put on hold, and Brenda, she gave me a hug that nearly broke my ribs. "Thank you, Elias," she said, her eyes filled with tears. "You saved us." Kevin was hailed as a hero. He got a promotion and a raise. He deserved it. As for me, I didn't get a promotion, I didn't get a raise, but I got something much more valuable. I got respect. I got the satisfaction of knowing that I had stood up for what was right. I also got a really, really good cup of coffee from Bob. So he said, winking at me, "Did you optimize the situation?" I smiled. "I did my best, Bob. I did my best. Apex Logistics is still a mess. It's still inefficient. It's still run by people who don't understand technology, but it's a little less chaotic, a little less dishonest, and a lot less Chad. I'm thinking about leaving. Sarah keeps sending me job postings. I deserve better, I know that now. But before I go, there are a few more things I'd like to optimize. Just a few minor tweaks, nothing major. After all, a system is only as good as the people who control it. And I know this system better than anyone. Apex Logistics doesn't know it yet, but my optimization project isn't quite done. Not by a long shot.